McLaren will take on its ex-Formula 1 drivers Lewis Hamilton and Jenson Button next year with an entry into the electric off-road Extreme E Series. It adds another non-F1 programme to an expanded McLaren racing roster 1 year on from having to address a growing financial crisis. It wasn't that long ago that McLaren was making redundancies, securing a massive loan from Bahrain, looking for new F1 investors, and selling then leasing back its famous Woking factory. So how's it gone from that to adding a third championship to its to-do list? And why has it picked something off-road and electric when McLaren has no racing experience of either? Before we get into answering those questions, we'd like to say a massive thank you for supporting our channel. We're all blown away to pass 600,000 subscribers, so if you're one of those, we're so grateful for that. Keep showing the love by hitting like on this video and commenting below, and if you're not already part of our incredible community, hopefully this video helps convince you to change that. Extreme E will be the second non-F1 racing programme added after McLaren joined the IndyCar grid last season with a full-time entry in collaboration with Arrow and Schmidt-Peterson. The expansion underlines the health of the McLaren racing division just over 12 months since the entire company was seeking to ease a very challenging situation. In response to the coronavirus pandemic, McLaren made redundancies, including among the racing division, had a major cash influx from majority McLaren Group owner Bahrain's Mumtalakat Group, and secured a $150 million loan with Bahrain's National Bank. Last December, McLaren agreed a £185 million buy-in from MSP Sports Capital, a consortium of US sports investors that gave it an initial 15% stake in the racing division, rising to a maximum of 33% by the end of 2022. McLaren has since sold its iconic Woking headquarters and leased it back on a long-term deal to raise yet more funds. Basically, McLaren Racing itself was still in a decent position last year, but found itself vulnerable as part of a wider McLaren Group that was in serious financial difficulty with a fundamentally fragile business model. The sale of a significant but minority stake in the racing division, which obviously includes the F1 team, was an extremely important step within the process of addressing that. It reduced pressure on the group at a time of great financial sensitivity, while also reinforcing the inherent strength of the racing division. McLaren admitted last year it would have been extremely difficult to keep making progress in F1 without that new investment. Now McLaren Racing's financial situation is extremely strong, at least according to racing CEO Zak Brown. It's a bit cliche to say that success breeds success, but McLaren has essentially been able to keep taking bigger and bigger steps. Its F1 revival allowed it to look at IndyCar. The success of that dual programme encouraged it to take the plunge on Extreme E, with the knowledge that these projects can be complementary without distracting or detracting from F1, which is still McLaren's main focus. So, why Extreme E, the series which aims to highlight the effects of climate change? McLaren says it's to enhance its expertise in electric racing and accelerate its sustainability and diversity agenda. Brown also says that McLaren's first foray into off-road competition and electric racing as a team is true to the company's roots of variety, innovation and bravery. Existing McLaren racing personnel from outside the F1 team and additional specialist resource will run the XE operation, for which a driver pairing that must comprise one male and one female driver hasn't been decided. McLaren will take on teams run by its former F1 drivers Hamilton and Button and another F1 world champion Nico Rosberg. Rosberg's drivers Johan Kristoffersson and Molly Taylor won the inaugural XE event in Saudi Arabia and the second round in Senegal as well. Among the other teams in the series is the Andretti United team, a union between US racing giant Andretti Autosport and United Autosports, a team co-owned by Brown. But the McLaren boss says he's a silent partner in that operation and will give 100% focus to McLaren's programme. McLaren has reiterated that F1 will always remain at the centre of its world, but believes this will benefit the racing business, which is now being referred to as a franchise, as well as complement its other programmes. That doesn't necessarily mean instant tech or knowledge transfer, but it can also mean wider commercial benefits, as McLaren is anticipating attracting new partners and fans and expects to make a profit from its first year in Extreme E. As for the series itself, unsurprisingly, Championship founder Alejandro Agag is delighted. He says bringing in McLaren is a huge endorsement of Extreme E's credentials, calling it the biggest announcement in XE's short history, and he says it shows the series is here to stay. Perhaps the most interesting thing about McLaren's Extreme E entry is that it didn't even seem to be on the company's radar, while two other projects were. In January this year, McLaren signed an option to enter Formula E for the 2022-23 season, and this option remains in place following McLaren's commitment to Extreme E. McLaren has also publicly expressed a serious desire to return to the Le Mans 24 Hours and has thus considered a World Endurance Championship programme as well. But both of these long-held interests would require more resource than Extreme E, which restricts teams to a very small number of on-site staff and takes care of the logistics of travelling to events as well. Brown says the success of McLaren's full-time Indy team has raised confidence that McLaren can compete in multiple categories if approached in the right way. That includes the financing and operation of the project, what McLaren wants to get from it, and what pressures exist around an entry. For example, McLaren believes Extreme E will quickly be fully subscribed, whereas that won't happen in WEC, and McLaren has the option to enter FE in the back pocket. So the bottom line is Extreme E ticked the relevant boxes already, but McLaren's yet to be convinced by an FE or WEC programme. That's apparently partly down to McLaren's failure to qualify for the 2019 Indianapolis 500 with Fernando Alonso still being fresh in the memory. McLaren's ill-fated solo effort as a one-off at Indianapolis was a very public embarrassment for the team, and Brown has cited that as a specific reason for him being very cautious and deliberate in considering Formula E or sports cars. That doesn't necessarily mean McLaren said no to either series, but it clearly needs some convincing and has previously indicated that a WEC entry wouldn't happen before 2024. An update is expected on the viability of McLaren entering either championship before the end of this year. So let us know in the comments where you would like to see McLaren end up and what you think about its entry into the world of off-road electric motorsport as well.